we are back on our channel. Today is a very special day because we are in beautiful Padang Bay, east coast of Bali. As you can see behind me, there is Padang Bay port, and we are in Blue Lagoon Resort that was created by Tony Gwilliam, who designed also our house. And for today I prepared a beautiful interview with Tony where he's gonna explain about the concept of GHome and basically what's the idea behind. So come have a look.
Hello. So we are here in the GHome in Blue Lagoon Eco Village in Padang Bay. About 2 years ago, we arrived here and met with this beautiful man that we're about to hear some words of wisdom from. And we spent a night in this place. And it really inspired us. And Lucy and I told ourselves that if we were ever to build a house in Bali, we never thought it would happen, to be honest. We're like, yeah, whatever. But if it does happen, it would be a GHome. That was pretty sure from the moment we entered this building. And well, it turns out that we did build a home. And so we contacted Tony again a few months later and said, well, can we talk about building a GHome in Tabanan, where we rented some land. So yeah, so this is it. This is a little video to give an explanation of what is this place, why is it special, because we have received a lot of questions from people regarding our house, a lot of enthusiasm. So we're here with the beautiful mind behind this this idea. So I mean, Tony, you've worked a long time in design and architecture, and how did you arrive to this idea?
You know, when you look at your life, really your ideas are there at the beginning, but they slowly come into form, you know, over the years. So the idea has been a natural growth, I think, from many ideas and much of my experience and doing many projects. The GHome basically is a realization that the most important tool for humans really is the environment they live in. And so I thought I should design a home for people who want to really live and create their own lives. So the GHome, as a result of that, is that basically it's a tool. It's a space that you can do what you want to do, what you're designed to do on Earth, you know, what your soul and mind and body is telling you to do. So it's really like an artist studio or workshop. It's a place that suits your bodily needs. You can cook and bathe and sleep, but at the same time it also deals with your mind and whatever you want to create. So if you're a sculptor, you can make it into a sculpture studio. If you're a software engineer, you make it into a place for sitting and doing software, a group of people. Or if you're a painter, it becomes a painting studio. If you're a musician, it becomes a musical workshop. So it's just a space that can become tuned to what you want it to be.
I saw in some of the documents that you shared here that most of the time in a home the creativity is relegated to the garage. So that's like the creative space. So the idea is to bring that creative space directly into the house.
Yeah, because our houses have been designed really for people who work in factories or offices. They come home and the wife cooks the meal and the kids go to school and each has a little separate bedroom, and the house was designed for that. So it ends up with these little suburban houses with separate rooms. That age, I think, is finished, because now if people have an idea, they want to carry it through, and so most of the ideas have been carried through, like the Apple computer thing was, you know, the garage becomes the workshop, the studio. So because in an American home, the two-car garage is the place that you can do things. The rest of the house is just is for living in. But so that's why don't we design the house as a place that really supports the creative process? And so the GHome is a place that can do that for people.
What is the G in GHome?
Global, really.
So this design, for example, in this setting is very open, it's very adapted to the tropics. This can be adapted to all types of climates.
Yeah, it's not very, each GHome can be different according to the local situation of the owner and the user and the environment that it's been built in. If it's a cold environment, it needs insulation probably, or reflection of energies. If it's in a hot environment, it should be very open. So the home itself will vary. It doesn't have a fixed form particularly. So the each home will be different.
So you mentioned also something which is very particular to the GHome, which is this idea of a service box, service area. Okay, can you talk a bit about that?
Well, yeah, the concept of the home became the space, because you need space to do things. So the space is not very expensive to produce, and most cultures can produce a space, whether it's in bamboo or corrugated iron or whatever. So a barn is a good space, you know, for working in or dancing in, or so the space is one part of the concept of GHome. And to simplify things, I decided to start with a simple space which was 6 meters by 6 meters by 6 meters, because that's a suitable size for doing things, and it also is a good size structurally. And so the basic space for the first GHomes was a cube, a 6 meter cube. It could be anything. It could be connected to an existing building. And so that's the space. The other aspect of the home, which is very important, is the service of the home, because you spend a lot of time cooking or cleaning or electricals and things. So that is more complex, and so the space itself can be built very simply with local materials and local labour, but the service part is more like the computer. It really needs sophisticated engineering and manufacturing. So what you do is you have the big space and connect to it a sophisticated factory produced module that provides all your services in an efficient way, so you don't have to spend all your time working, cleaning the house and things. So the service module is separate from the space module, and the service module can be something like a container, like a 20-foot by 8-foot by 8-foot container, or it could be an RV. And as RVs are becoming more sophisticated, and then the transportation system and the electrical system in RVs can be more self-sufficient as we're going over to electrics and solar. The RV, the method of manufacturing and so on, could make a very good model for a service pod.
And the
So the service pod just connects and plugs into the big space.
The service pod, to be clear, is like so the kitchen, the toilet, the bathroom, sort of where you have all the complex plumbing and electricals.
Yeah. And storage and so on. It can open out like an RV. It can open out into the big space. So it can open inwards and outwards. Like the modern RV, you know, often you see people sitting in a campsite on the outside of the RV watching the football match, you know, on the TV screen outside. Well, the service pod can have a lot of things facing outwards too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like a pop concert stage, you know. The stage itself is the space, and then you can plug in all the things, the lighting and the heights and floors and things into it, and it's all portable equipment.
So how do people build a GHome if they want to? What's the process?
Well, at the moment we've done some prototypes, and you yourself have built one for yourself. The concept, again, is that people should be able to build it with help, so we give as much support to anybody who wants to build one as possible by showing them how to do things. And instead of it being one fixed blueprint or one fixed plan, each person who builds one can share their information with anybody else who wants to build one. So the idea is it becomes a never growing experience that's available to everybody, so that if somebody builds one and certain things work well, they can tell everybody else. So the idea really is information. So the website contains all the information for people to be able to build their own, and we'll give them as much support as we can with skilled architects or professionals who, if there are certain things that need doing. So that's the concept, is really a group concept of the idea growing through everybody contributing, not keeping it secret or private, but actually sharing their knowledge of what it was to build their own home.
Since this GHome has been built, and a couple of others around the world as well, are there any things that you've refined or learned about the design, like, since it's come into life?
Well, the technology changes a lot, as we go along. So there's at the moment the technology of the car, which is electric and battery driven, and the fuel cell, which is also electric. The fuel cell is a very suitable power system for both cars and houses, because the fuel cell actually produces clean water and heat, which is what you need in the home. And the home is also a very good collector, because it has a big surface area for solar cells and things, and it's static, so that can collect power which it can then feed into the fuel cell or to batteries. But the fuel cell is a good one. So the transportation system in the home should be considered one system. So the car can be attached to the home with an umbilical cord to provide power for the house, and the house can provide power to the car according to what's required. So that's starting to happen. Some people are using the car as a backup system for the house, using it as a generator. So, but the two should really be designed together. And so we've really got three components. We've got the space, which is just open space, can be built in adobe blocks or traditional materials or modern materials. That tends to go to doing more with less, so the materials we can use can be even fabrics, so you can build a big tent really. Then you've got the service component, which feeds everything you need for your power systems and lighting and heating and connections and the internet and so on. Then you've got the transportation system, which is connected to it when it needs to be. So they're the three basic things. Each of those can develop its own way, and people will develop in their own way. And there's a lot of talk about, instead of owning things, you rent them. So if you rent something, the person you're renting it from is responsible for recycling it and coming back with the latest model, which is always more efficient. So I think Tesla wants to do that, really. In the end, he will get his cars back and just have a rental service. That's the thoughts. The thoughts are... But remember that everything is going to less and less and more ephemeral, so the house may disappear,
End up in the bottom of the ocean.
So it's okay, that's good, because the less material we're using and less energy we use is better for the environment. We don't want to keep digging up quarry materials and throwing them away. So it's if we can build a whole house with a force field or something, fine. Why not? Or,
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Maybe one more question. What you would wish for GHome to become? Or
the what?
maybe you can place the question better.
Maybe one last question would be, what are your hopes for the GHome?
It's a good design. It's very sensible. My hope is that people will understand that and connect to it and build on it, and it would go through its own evolution. It shouldn't really need to be pushed or marketed. It should be natural marketing through attraction. So as people come to live in them, they like it, and their friends want to build one, and so my hope is that it will just naturally become part of our lives. And so that's my hope. I don't have to feel that I have to do a lot to promote it or anything. So I just want it to be feel as an attractive thing in people's lives, helps their life.
So someone who wants to build a GHome, perhaps just contact someone who already has built a GHome.
That's the best way. Yeah, there's a website, and the website should have everybody who's built a GHome on it with all their information, so you can talk to the people who've already done it. All the information should be there. That's the ideal.
Yeah. Or just contact Lucy.
Sure. I will put the website under the video in the description of the video.
Yeah, I mean the website basically is GHome.studio.
Simple as that.
So it's very simple. And that'll develop its own way, because that can also be a very good tool for helping people. And then those people can connect to architects and visualizers to actually walk through their building before they build it and things like that.
Yeah, like in our case, the base design was this 6-meter cube. You early on suggested to add a second 6-meter cube, and yeah, that turned out to be perfect for our needs. But if, let's say, even if a family wanted to build a GHome, they could have 3 cubes or 4, or add those 2 to an existing building, as you said. So this is not only just for young couples or for people who want a small dwelling necessarily, right? It is about minimalism, but it can be spacious minimalism.
Yeah, it's not really supposed to be minimal. It's supposed to be just do the job.
Okay.
It's like a Japanese house. You can make use of the space very well by the way you design the. If you build the furniture in, it sort of is more efficient. And a lot of the things that we have are getting smaller and smaller, so you don't need so much space for things. And if you look at a house, in the old days, the kitchen, had to have a big fire and smoke and wood, and it's a sort of pretty dirty place. Nowadays, the kitchen is pretty clean with microwaves and things, so the kitchen can be part of the living room. Before, it couldn't really be that. So the separation of the rooms is less important now. You can really sleep in the kitchen. We have to realize that these technologies change the planning of the house too. We don't need to get stuck in the old picture. I mean, if the bedroom's only used for sleeping, then it can disappear during the daytime or be used for something else. Maybe the bed flies up to the ceiling. There's a lot of potential. And here we are sitting in one of the GHomes. Very simple ones.
With trampolines instead of flooring.
Oh yeah, the trampoline floor is just part of the picture, really.
And do exercise.
Why do you
cook?
Why do you need a lot of concrete or wood or anything for a floor when you can just do a stretch fabric? And it works well. It's comfortable. It's
Airflow.
lightweight and airflow. Yeah. So I think the potential for these sort of floors is great. You know, where they use a lot is on catamarans. Yeah. Catamarans, I use a lot of these tension floors, and they're also good for your body to have that bounce.
In this GHome, the windows here, which is pretty much this whole wall, they were all recycled, right? You found those?
Recycled windows from Java. But again, those walls could be anything. And one of the ideas was to actually print the walls on like a billboard, so you could make your house look like, you know, sort of Versailles if you want to. You just print Versailles on it. And the other thing is you can do is, of course, project the look of your house on the walls, so you can just have the place white, and then you just project what you want. So if you want to live in a nice warm Swiss chalet, you just project a Swiss chalet on the walls, and with your grandma sitting in the rocking chair, you know. No, because it's becoming virtual rather than actual. Because virtual uses a lot less energy usually. If you stop digging up the earth.
Indeed, let's stop digging up the earth. Maybe that's a good place to end. Build light and useful spaces for living.
He's determined to end it, didn't he? That's what he's very lazy, really.
You can't end it like that.
Okay, Tony, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much for helping us with our house. And
well, thank you very much for being good friends and understanding things. You're very positive and you just do things. I like it. I like your new business too.
That's gonna be in next video.
No, I'd like to join in with it if you need me anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I'll do whatever I can to help you make it work.